son, I'm popping out to boy Justin, aka Young Mummy, the mother of the streets. So this topic will be in reference to systemic racism slash institutional racism. The reason I was compelled to do this is because I've talked to some people, and while the vast majority of people certainly believe that it exists, I've spoken to a few people who deny it, who assert that it's a myth and it doesn't exist at all, which I construe to be a frankly ludicrous proposition, abjectly insane. So I'm going to try to make it as short as I can. So my argument in favor of systemic racism and systemic ideology, when I say in favor, that doesn't mean I support it. I mean, I believe it exists. So there's three facets to my argument. The first is the history, the precedent. When we look back at the history of my country, Canada, and America, if we look back at slavery times, over 300 years of slavery, and then many years of mandated segregation and Jim Crow, we know what life was like. We know how mistreated black people were. We have thousands and thousands of contemporaneous historical accounts lending credibility to this. There's no mystery. We know how bad it is. We have video footage, we have photos, we have a myriad historical documents that discuss they were murdered en masse, they were raped en masse, they were tortured, they were murdered for no reason, they were hated, called ugly, called stupid. The notion that this very pervasive ideology would not become ingrained in the social fabric is absurd. The second facet of my argument is simple cause and effect. We know this to be unalterable law of nature, law of physics. We know that what exists now is a direct manifestation of what preceded it. We know this is not up for dispute. So if I, for instance, take this pen here and I drop it, we can all objectively look at the pen and see that it's on the floor. We could all acknowledge that. But if you're an honest person and you've seen what happened and you know the history, you should be able to admit the reason it's on the floor is because I had it here and I dropped it. And the same goes with, people of today. In 2016, there's a lot of people that are, on the floor, for lack of a better term. I'm using that in a figurative context, except a lot of people don't want to admit the reason why they're on the floor. I mean, okay, this is because historically they've been very subjugated and hated and oppressed. Okay, and so the third facet to the argument is just looking at statistics, contemporaneous statistics, and we could look at just about anything. We could look at the way police patrol communities and arrest rates. We could look at conviction rates. I mean, we know definitively that black people get lengthier sentences and they get sentenced more often for the exact same offense as opposed to, privileged groups. We could look at the life expectancy rates, we could look at suicide rates, we could look at the disproportionate amount of blacks that are murdered by police as opposed to white people. We'll just focus on average income, just for the sake of the argument. I mean, so we know definitively, without question, without exception, that black families do earn significantly less than white families. And it's not just this year, and it's not just, it wasn't just this year and last year. No, it's been every year. There's never been a year on record where blacks have made more. In fact, there's never been a year on record where blacks earned even close. It's just never happened. And this is all objective statistics. Okay, so consider that for a second. Why is it that blacks always earn far less? I mean, they certainly, let me tell you, they're certainly not doing it because living in poverty is fun. It's not fun to be very hungry and not have money to buy food. It's not fun to have to choose between paying your rent in your cockroach infested apartment and buying food. It's not fun to never have any money to go out and go to a movie and do that. That's not fun. Okay, they're not choosing to make less money. So why would they? Well, if we understand the precedent, the history, which is indisputable, and we understand cause and effect, which again is indisputable, the most reasonable conclusion, I contend, is systemic ideology ingrained within the cultural fabric. And I'm not just saying this as a student of sociology. I'm just saying this as a human that has a brain and has the capacity to think rationally. So, I'm not going to get angry at these systemic racism deniers, but I do think they're insane, and I think that the majority of them do know the reality, and they just want to purport that it doesn't exist because they really don't like feeling the guilt, what we call white guilt. And I understand that guilt is very uncomfortable emotion, but you know what? We're not going to progress until people embrace and accept their guilt, and we work together at manifesting an equitable system. Okay? Well, that is all for now, boys and girls. It has been a pleasure. It's your boy Justin, aka Young Mummy, the mother of the streets. Make sure to dig on all the rest of my material. And take care, y'all. Peace.
Do I have to put my handcuffs on your mama? Do I have to keep you under lock and key?